Yeah? Oh, what, is it recording already?
Yeah, it's recording, yeah.
Cool.
I haven't missed this.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Eid Mubarak.
Yeah, Eid Mubarak.
In bar, people.
Are you ready, yeah?
Yeah, let's go.
Are you calm?
Yeah, it was falling off.
You said yeah.
It was falling off. Let's go. Bismillah.
I mean, like patting the mic in it, so that was.
It's pattern. Let's go. Bismillah.
We're back, guys.
Yeah.
We're back.
Yeah.
We're back. Yay.
See the break, yeah?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, man. It was nice just to not have
It
to.
was, yeah. It was nice to wake up on a Sunday morning and not have to
come here.
come here. Not in the nicest way possible. I should say. That was in the nicest way possible.
Obviously, you enjoy it, but at the end of the day, to have to do something every week,
Yeah.
it's long. It can be long, yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously get home, and then is the episode up on Buzzsprout yet?
Yeah.
When's the YouTube coming out?
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Editing.
Trust me.
They're not editing. I was just not having to think about anything.
It was nice, yeah.
Not having to do the Instagram, not having to do the Twitter.
Not that we don't enjoy doing this.
Yeah,
Not
of
that
course.
we
We
don't
enjoy it.
enjoy
Not, obviously, we're here, innit? So
Yeah.
no one's.
Obviously, time is best spent on doing other things.
Yeah, Ramadan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of which, how was
Yes,
Ramadan?
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good, man. Alhamdulillah is, I think, the most important or best thing about it, I'd say, was being able to be back in the masjid.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I missed. And obviously Taraweeh, like getting to do it behind the mum, not having to struggle to do
I think it
yourself.
was Taraweeh, because obviously last year we didn't get to pray Taraweeh. Obviously, mosques have been open for Jummah for probably a couple months before Ramadan, but obviously the main thing is Taraweeh.
Yeah.
Ibs?
It was I remember the beginning being a little bit weird because obviously this is I think this is all of our first Ramadans as married.
Oh yeah.
No, or just mine.
It's not mine.
It's not yours. It's probably not yours. It's yours. Just
No,
me.
I think no.
It would have been yours.
If it's
No,
not
it's
his,
mine, because I think I got married just after Ramadan.
Mine was like, I got married and then like 3 weeks
I got
after
remarried,
Ramadan.
yeah.
innit? So,
Oh yeah, but for me it was just a tiny bit weird in the start because I remember having to go to Tari on the first night, and then my flat asked me, like, "Where are we going to pray?" And I was like, "Oh, right.
yeah.
It's my decision."
Oh, yeah, you're
I was like, "Oh, I have to decide as well." So
This thing keeps going back up.
it was that kind of bit in the beginning that I kind of felt a tiny bit unprepared, but after that, alhamdulillah, it was good. Alhamdulillah, it was fun. Yeah.
Do you find that I feel like sisters, they love doing the whole the spread.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to eat a day, pray, and then eat my pounded yam and go mosque.
Yeah.
Listen, I tell my wife.
said, there's only two of us here, like.
a little bit. I get a whole. Alhamdulillah.
I mean,
Alhamdulillah, can't
it's good.
complain.
Alhamdulillah, you can't complain. Yeah.
Yeah, how
But
come?
then it's like, can we pray?
Can we pray?
Certain man ain't married, so you got to be.
No, that's the question
Grateful.
I asked. But can we pray, please?
Just yeah.
No. Everyday spread.
It's not a bad thing. Alhamdulillah, it's good. It was good. Yeah.
Production. Can we ask how Ramadan was? Obviously,
It was good.
it's a special one. It was quick. I'm just gonna repeat everything you say. It was quick.
Yeah, it was crazy quick in it, and alhamdulillah, night prayers, Tari was like, it was dope.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, your first Ramadan.
Yeah.
Sick. Nothing back.
Yeah,
Obviously, we asked the other day, but just for the listeners, how was it for you? What's your? Do you want to get the mic?
He doesn't want to.
You don't know? Give a perspective for listeners.
Oh, what, for my first
Yeah, for your first Ramadan, how was it?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, it was good. Like, it was weird at first. The start was a bit like, okay, this is like a new thing. And it was like the first week was a tough week, and I was working at the same time. But obviously, like once I got into it, once you get into the rhythm, like it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. And then like trying to get, I think I picked up in the last 10 days, alhamdulillah, I picked up going like every night before I would do like night prayer every night. I thought I was gonna do like at least have a weekend off in it, and then the rest of the week. Yeah, no, I loved it. Alhamdulillah. It was like an achievement, like a little like.
You know, we went Whitechapel one day. Yeah. And obviously he was fasting, but I'm working, as he said. Yeah. Then obviously he wasn't going out a lot, innit? So then we were going out. Yeah, we just did simple shopping trip like Whitechapel. I was like, now this fasting's hard, man. How do you go out when you fast? You were living like a sloth.
When you're in your house, you don't smell the food outside. So until obviously you start making food for Maghrib time and that. Once you start, like, when you go outside, passing shops and that.
I think for people that are working from home, it might be a bit more difficult as well, because obviously you're at home, whereas if you're at work, you're constantly occupied, so you're not thinking about food in it.
You don't think about it.
You don't think about it that much because you're at work. But obviously, if you're working from home, I guess it's still kind of the same thing, but then at the same time, you're still at home in it. So
it's definitely. I think when being like more active, you're just not as hungry.
Yeah,
really, You don't feel like I got some days. Like it gets cold. For some reason, like it was cold.
I'm cold when I'm hungry.
Yeah, I get cold when I'm hungry. It's a weird thing where I was like, I'm actually cold. I gotta put the heating on. Got like a little hot water bottle thing.
Yeah.
Like, whilst I'm working, I got like the quilt covered on it. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. May Allah allow us to see many Ramadans to come.
I mean, and that's another thing, man. That like, obviously you get reminded of every month that like, people that were praying in the mosque front row last year, they're not there this year. It's magic, man. And the power of Ramadan is high, as we all know. So obviously, just make dua that we see another one.
And the peace as well.
Yeah, everything, man.
Outside and you get like there's an air of peace.
There's an air of peace, yeah, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. Beautiful thing. Cool. In terms of actually one thing though, so you know how you said like working makes it easier. I kind of think working makes it harder, in that I think working makes Ramadan easier or fasting easier, maybe in terms of the time goes quick. And then the waking up early makes the day feel longer, and it means that your night is a bit more shagged. That's what I found. So like,
I don't know.
What?
So obviously, because you have to wake up early for work, I think generally, if someone's just not working, chances are when it comes to Ramadan, they're gonna end up getting into a pattern where they may be going to bed after Fajr probably and doing more staying up. Whereas obviously, if you're working 9 to 5,
I haven't got a clue, Ray.
This doesn't relate.
I don't work 9 to 5.
This doesn't relate to you, but so like,
I don't get no sleep.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough.
I've got a daughter now.
Yeah. Oh,
it's all mad.
Do the streets know?
It's all
I
mad.
don't think
I
they
think
do.
bonus episode that came out.
You slightly mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Bonus episode.
Oh yeah. I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know updates for
You
the?
have to kind of update us now. Yeah.
I said it. Alhamdulillah. Been blessed with my daughter earlier.
Alhamdulillah. Right, man. That's beautiful.
We'll come back to that actually, because you're not getting off that.
We need to delve
We'll
into
come back to that.
into the fatherhood thing, innit? But yeah, like, so when I take a lot of annual leave. When I'm working, it's like in terms of the benefits of fasting or of Ramadan, staying up, Qiyam, reading Quran at night, that type of thing. You can't do as much. However, the days do go quicker. However, when I'm not working, I just sleep later, wake up later. It means I get to focus more on my nights, do more things. So it's a bit of a trade-off, innit? I don't know.
I've kind of forgotten what it was like working because I was off the last 10 days.
Yeah, I was
kind of forgotten. Yeah.
I basically took like 2 days off every week.
Okay.
So I was off basically every Monday and Friday, kind of. And then last 10 days, I only worked like 2 days. I shared my annual leave though. I booked off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday instead of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because I had to do it early. I got the dates.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to work on so that, when we did the link of how I had worked that day.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, it was all good though, man. Yeah. Man. So, fatherhood.
What are you saying?
I said kidulthood to adulthood to fatherhood and that.
Huh?
How's it going?
Alhamdulillah.
How's what have you learnt from being a dad? Like, how's it changed you? How's it affected you?
Changed me? I don't know, man. There's only been It's only been a month and a half, so that's still to be seen. But in terms of
fatherhood, how's it changed you? How's it affected you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah,
It's
it's good, man. It's a blessing. It's the biggest blessing. Alhamdulillah. Obviously, it's been about a month and a half, so I can't really say how it's changed me yet. But yeah.
What's the biggest challenge, would you say, so far?
Biggest challenge?
Even the littlest thing.
Biggest challenge? I don't know. It's probably sleep, to be honest.
Is it bad, like?
No, it's not terrible, but
on an average night, obviously,
you know what it is. I can't really say it's my daughter per se, because there's I had my daughter just before Ramadan, alhamdulillah, and Ramadan, you don't really get much sleep in Ramadan
anyway.
So,
yeah.
And it's been less than a week since Eid, so I can't really say. I don't know.
Weirdly enough, on Eid, I asked my brother and my sister-in-law the exact same question. Like, what's the hardest thing about having a kid? And they were just like, kind of time management, but then at the same time, you can't make any plans about considering.
Yeah.
Like,
the only thing I can say is,
it's gonna be like, if someone asks you, like, if you want to go out, like,
you can't commit ahead of time.
Yeah, is someone gonna be able to look after her, or is my husband gonna be at home, or can I bring her with me to wherever I'm going? So it's like you just can't make plans on the whim anymore.
And like,
and also money.
Yeah, of course.
That was the other thing as well. Yeah.
I think what I've learned is about being a man and fatherhood. I think I can only talk for myself. People expect me to be way more less hands-on than I am. I'm way, like, it's like, even we spoke about this, the hospital. I just wanted to.
Yeah, go on.
It's just nonsense. It's just like the father doesn't really matter. Like, it's just like,
because I feel like
I get it. It's the mother. Like, she gave birth to the baby. Whatever, not whatever, but like, I understand. Like, there needs to be skin to skin time, all of that stuff. But at the same time, I am here. I am the father. Nothing goes without my say.
Was everything calm, by the way, in, like, delivering stuff?
You know what? I don't think. Listen, I could talk a lot about the NHS and stuff and how they dealt with it and the nonsense they were doing, but at the end of the day,
because I feel like, especially black women, but everyone seems to have a story about when they were in hospital, and I feel like one of the things I've kind of like asked my brothers was kind of like, how did you deal with it? Because I feel like if I'm to go in that setting, it's almost like I feel like I have to be raggo from the start and let you know that, listen, I've come in here to have a child, and I plan on leaving with my wife and my child. If you try any nonsense, like, I feel like you have to do that from the start. Otherwise, people are just going to try and move mad.
I mean,
it's who I'm talking to.
It's me. Go on. So all I'm gonna say is, I'm not gonna slate the NHS because they're understaffed and costs and whatnot. One of my businesses, I have contracts in the NHS. The way they're tight on funding with certain stuff is just ridiculous. But at the same time, it's like, all I'm gonna say is, this has been an experience for me. It's inspired me to work harder so that I don't have to go through stuff with NHS again.
So see the experiences you faced, because obviously I know a bit about it, and I think it'll be interesting to delve in. Is it so? Based on the experiences you had, if you could just explain them a little, or whatever you're happy to share, because sometimes is it a personality thing? Okay,
so let me just give 3 examples.
I think it's less about, from what I've heard, it's less about funding and
it's the individuals.
It's the people. Yeah,
and there's a lot of the people.
The attitude I'm not here for you to be giving for you to be giving me attitude. Or if someone's telling you they're in pain and you're telling them they're actually, I'm not here for any of that.
So if I'm to just state this, I could go literally on, but if I'm just to state 3 things from the top of my head, there's numerous times where I had to, my wife was like, look, you're making a receptionist. I was like, I don't care, because if anything was
that
to
was the thing you
happen,
should have started with.
I could go on. If anything was to happen, like, so this specific scenario where my wife had to like calm me down because she said I was making a receptionist cry. They mismeasured the baby on a Thursday or Friday, and then they said, "Oh, because the baby's this way, and babies don't shrink. Because the baby's this way, like how can you not know how to measure a baby?" So basically, the baby changed position.
Yeah.
So
is this post like birth or
no
or pre-birth?
Yeah, literally coming towards the time my daughter was due. They mismeasured the baby, and they basically said the baby shrunk, which rarely ever happens. Does not happen. They then because of this, they then gave a false kind of, nothing's wrong, but there may be they kind of gave a false message saying basically there might be a problem with your baby, and we'll book you in for an emergency scan. This happened on a Friday. This happened on a Thursday, and the scan was meant to be first thing on a Friday. Came on a Friday now. They basically said, "Oh, we can't book you in now. We just push you on to Monday." And I was like, "How can you do that? You just said."
Well, as in you arrived on Friday and they said that.
Yeah. So we're gone first thing on a Friday morning, and then on the way there they were like, "Oh, don't come in on Monday. We'll book you in for an appointment on Monday. Your case is not an emergency. We don't know what they told you, what the other midwife told you, blah, blah, blah." So think about it this way in regards to mental health. You've now, not only have you mismeasured, not only have you given a false alarm, but you're now going to give it a whole weekend for stuff to just linger in the mind.
Yeah, shocking.
And then, so basically with that, and the reason why I say it's a small example is just like this because there's so much more I could talk about, but I'm not going to, is because if it wasn't for the fact that I hadn't gone, "No, we're coming, you're going to give us an appointment, or there's going to be problems." If it wasn't for that fact, they would have just, and there was prior stuff. So this has been like, it from the way I've dealt with prior stuff, if I didn't deal with it that way, who knows what would have happened. Secondly, there was the second example of free I'll give is when they regularly take blood from the mother.
Yeah.
They took her blood 6 times I don't know if it's 6 pints or 6, I don't know.
6 bottles.
6 bottles, yeah. They lost it. I don't know how they lost it. I don't know how you lose someone's blood. Same day, they called us back, took her blood again. She fainted right outside the hospital on the reception. She's got a permanent scar on her hand. So I went to complain. And like, yeah, there's not much we can do about it. It happens. I was like, how do you lose someone's blood? If I'll burn this hospital down, how do you lose someone's blood? Are you mad? How does it happen?
It happens.
No. How do you lose someone's blood?
I don't know how it happens, but it happens a lot.
So someone drinking a blood? I don't get it. How do you lose someone's blood?
Did they say something? Remember the sample? They said it's lost.
I can't remember because my head was just
sometimes when they run the tests.
And I think if it was
you can't use the blood anymore, you have to do it again.
No. They lost it. They didn't. They misplaced it. They said they lost it.
Yeah, that's different. That's different.
Yeah,
bear in mind, they give the mother a sticker. They do all of this stuff. They said they lost the blood, 6 bottles of blood. Not like they lost 1. They lost 6, but I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
And they weren't remorseful. But I think if they had lost the blood, taken blood again, and nothing had happened, I think I would have been fine.
Yeah.
It's the fact that my wife's now got a permanent little scar on her hand. Just bear in mind, she does henna. She has a henna business, so she does henna on her hand sometimes, post a picture, whatever.
Pictures, yeah.
She's got a permanent scar on her hand. No remorse, nothing. I was livid. The only reason why I didn't go further is because my wife was just like, just leave it. And I'm not going there to fight a battle and then my wife's like, leave it, and getting upset because I'm moving mad. And then the third thing, I could just go on. I think I'll just leave it there, man.
No, go on.
Because there's so much.
No, go on.
What was the third thing? Okay, so my wife's quite petite, and she was really, with getting into labour, it was extremely painful because there's such a big baby and such a small human. So they gave her what you call is a painkiller. They shoot it in the bum. It's called pepidem, I think. I don't know.
Pethidine? Was it during labour?
Just before labour.
Yeah,
so
pethidine.
I literally didn't sleep for like 2 days. I literally crashed multiple times on the way home because we kept coming back, going home, going home. Because they'll send her home because they say you're not fully dilated.
Yeah.
So they gave her pepidem.
That happens commonly.
And it's meant to be a painkiller, and it lasts for, I think, 6 hours or something. And that's meant to get you to relax so that you can naturally induce labour or whatever. Because my wife she did do a natural water pool birth or whatever you call it. Now, they gave her this, and I said, she's only getting that. Well, she's gonna get the first one. She's only gonna get the second one because I'm no one to say if my wife feels that's how she feels. I'm not gonna say don't get it. I'm not gonna don't give it to her. That's not my body. That's her body. I can't. If she feels it's gonna be less painful for her, go ahead, knock yourself out, literally. But the second one, I was like, if it's not going to affect the baby, then by all means, but only if it's not going to affect the baby. The first dose, whatever. Second dose, if it's not going to affect the baby, cool. This lady, yeah.
Midwife.
This midwife that gave it to her. She was so adamant. So she was like, not a chance of it's like she was 100% sure. Yeah. She showed me. Yeah. No. It's not gonna be fine. It's not gonna be fine. I was like, okay, so what if? She's like, no, there's no what if. It's gonna be fine.
Is this in terms of it affecting the baby?
Yeah. Even by the time the baby comes, if it's still blah 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 blah, cool. Second dose came, by which time she was in labour, and it lasted for 6 hours. She gave after the second dose, she gave birth about 4 hours in, and when she gave birth, I was with her through the whole time. I was there supporting her, there helping her breathe, and not helping her breathe, but whatever. During which time I could talk about other stuff as well, but I'll leave it there. During which time she gave birth 4 hours in, so that's basically two more hours left of the painkiller to kick in. My daughter came and they had to basically put her on a breathing machine, on an incubator and breathing machine because she was breathing by herself, but because of the painkiller, she was just way too relaxed to breathe herself.
Okay.
So she was breathing, but it was like she didn't cry at all when she came out the womb. Like imagine a water pool bath. She came
sedated, kind of.
Yeah, she came bloop like a poo, bloop round. They scurried to pick her up. Yeah. Got the umbilical cord and she was just chilling there, like chilling. She was breathing, but it was like faintest breathing.
Very relaxed, yeah.
Yeah, too relaxed. So she could barely breathe on herself. They basically took her. No, nothing's wrong, nothing's. I was like, no, I'm coming. Like, I'm coming. Let me watch what's happening. Typical. She's my daughter. She pissed on them. They're like, she's cheeky. I was like, yeah, that's my daughter. So yeah, they had to basically pump oxygen into her, and she was grey, pale, everything. But I think that's how babies are anyway. But she was pale for more longer, and it was a thing of basically she was just way too relaxed to breathe. And I was like, this shouldn't have happened. Why is this happening? They were like, did she have any pain? What did she have any? Like, they don't even know what's happening. And this is a common theme amongst the people there, where there's so much contradicting advice. One midwife will tell you something, another midwife will tell you something else. They don't know what they're doing, which is mad. I find that mad that these health professionals don't know what they're doing. And the maddest thing is, I came back to where I live now, the local hospital there that I've heard the maddest stuff about. And the only two people that we spoke to there for our follow-up appointments, they seem to be the only people that knew what they were doing. And I've heard I'll just say it. Everyone's heard horror stories about Croydon Hospital, Croydon University Hospital, but they seem to be. When I was choosing, when I was
called Croydon University.
Yeah, that's
I think it used to be Mayday Hospital when I used to go to school, but
okay.
now it's called Croydon. I used to hear mad stuff about them, which is why I didn't go there, even though it was my more local one. And the one I went to previously was the one close to where I lived. But they seemed to be the only ones who knew what they were doing. Whereas the ones I went to, they were just a bunch of buffoons. They were just talking nonsense, doing this. All right, let me leave it there, man, because I'll just get me, and I don't see any benefit in. All I'm gonna say is this has inspired me to kind of, not that I didn't want to before, because my plan originally was to go private.
Yeah.
But my circumstances changed, as you know, I wasn't earning no money, and I was in stingy mode, and I was just like, you know what, let me just do NHS for the first one. Can't be too bad. But all I'm saying is this has just inspired me to be like, it's just motivated me to, like, if I'd known it would have been this way, I would have just spent money. Regardless, if I'm not earning money, is what it is. I'll just spend money, and private birth is silly expensive. But to me, it's worth it. When
do you know what the private thing often gives you, especially when it comes to something like this, is that continuity. Firstly, which you're meant to get in there just because you're meant to have your case. Was it caseworker? Is there something? I can't remember
what's it called.
But you're meant to have.
I was visiting my house next week.
You're meant to have a midwife that's there from you from the beginning to the end, and you'll be part of her caseload or whatever. This is all from Mrs. by the way. Obviously, when I told her the stuff that you told me.
Yeah.
In terms of the drug and giving it, I think I've had this conversation with her before. I don't really know about processes, but what I think she's told me is that pethidine, that drug, you give at certain points, and there is a cutoff. And I think the cutoff is, I can't remember the reason for the cutoff. But based on the type of drug it is, obviously it's opioid. It's like, think of like heroin kind of thing. Yeah. It's like, it's from that family of like heroin type family that obviously it can have lingering effects. Probably maybe in terms of impairing a woman pushing and contracting all that type of stuff. I'm not sure. Or maybe in terms of, crossing the placenta, affecting the baby. Because like respiratory suppression is a side effect of opioids, like heroin, like pethidine, that drug. That it suppresses breathing. So that is the common. So when someone overdoses, for example, on pethidine, that's what kills them. Their respiratory system shuts down.
I didn't even know there was a cutoff point.
So
it's the first
that's why that sounds. So that I don't want to speak because I'm not 100% sure in terms of why they don't use it past a certain point in labour. But that sounds like it could be a reason. So somebody might have been. In terms of conflicting information, I think that happens often with. Happens with everybody, but from what I hear about, like, nursing midwives, that type of thing, especially like midwives, obviously they have their style. So, for example, may have a midwife, for example, that's
Banyo style. There's facts and then there's
obviously there's policies, regulations, guidelines how they're meant to do things. But you get this, for example, in the more cultural places, for example, that the way a midwife will treat, for example, your wife or my wife if she came in, or the way they'll treat, I don't know, 16-year-old. Young girl, teenage pregnancy type person, or the way they'll treat 35-year-old Margaret. Obviously, like, for example, if a Nigerian saw a Nigerian, they'll treat a Nigerian different. So just that kind of thing. But often the thing is, when you have variation based on who it is, not everyone's going to take that the right way, innit?
Hold on, I think I put pepper in my eyes.
Okay, it's good as pepper, because when he sniffed his fingers, I was thinking, what going from
Didn't see that.
That look kind of booky. I saw the camera in the corner of my eyes. I saw man. I said, you're on camera, bro. You good?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
I was just saying, I'm happy that you said it was pepper because it looked a bit booky. You were sniffing your hand.
I was just because I was thinking, oh my days.
Was he just chopping pepper or something?
I was cooking before I came.
Mad. Are you good? Yeah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
What was I gonna say? Is there no like record keeping for stuff like that?
Yeah, there is.
If you're to administer sort of medication or drug, is there not record keeping?
Croydon, I don't know if Croydon has like electronic prescribing or paper.
Shouldn't everywhere have record keeping? If you're giving someone
but a lot of the time it's not done at the time. It's done retrospectively. Or for example, you might have a prescription that can open prescription, and then they'll sign when they give the medicine after. So
it's what I'm saying. Everyone will have one.
So
I feel like
because people
have one.
when you get a clash of guidelines versus historic practice or people doing things a certain way, that's where you get conflicting information. So, for example, the guideline might say you can't give this 3 hours into it. You can, if you want to give pethidine once they've been in labour for 3 hours or once they've been dilated by 5 centimeters, you can't give it anymore. Someone might be like, no, I always do it like this and it's okay. Stuff like that. Whereas, and because it's that too many cooks type of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what. And when like I was saying before Dolo cut, when you have people doing treating people based on perceptions or how they see them or blah blah blah, that might run okay sometimes. But sometimes it might not run okay. Yeah. For example, how many times let's say you go Sainsbury's, if the black brother sees you and the till, he might say, "Oh, what's up, bro?" instead of "sir." And then, for example, I don't mind, but you get one guy that will say, "Oh, what's wrong with your stuff?" He's calling me bro. Yeah. I can't his age mate. So, yeah, and that's what I guess you won't get that in a private setting. But you know,
like I said,
yeah.
There's
obviously there's
no man, there's no excuse, man.
No, there's no, for especially that story about
there isn't an excuse. No,
about the scan. There's no excuse for that. Yeah, mistakes. But
when I made a complaint, they even told me something about it's fine, if anything happens you can see them. I was like, are you mad? I had to bite my tongue. I don't usually swear. And I was like this close to just smashing up the room and swearing. And I was like, is there something wrong? Because are you right in the head? Do I care about suing someone if my wife's dead? If my child's dead? Like, if there's any problems, if there's any complications?
I feel like it's
very laid back attitude to just nonsense, mediocrity.
I don't know, man.
Pardon?
I feel like
the staff, when I was making a complaint, but it's almost it won't be happening again, inshallah.
I don't know. Sure. When I think about stuff like that, I sometimes think to myself, there must be something wrong with that person. There has to be, because there's absolutely no way you can lack perspective to that extent. Which bit you're talking in such a casual manner. The person that's saying stuff like that, you can just see them dead. Because I don't believe there's any way that you can lack perspective to that extent, that you're just opening your mouth and just talking loose.
Listen, at the end of the
as somebody who works obviously for like, I can't imagine myself being involved
in something like that.
Listen,
when I think of the people I work with, I don't. But then that's the thing. Think about the pathway to be getting into those types of jobs. Like, you get your grades, then because of your grades you get into the uni course. There's not really much of an interview. Then because of your grades in uni you get your job. There's not once again the interview doesn't really, so basically the point I'm trying to drive at, there's no real way to weed out psychos. So it's very easy for mad people to get
at the end of the day.
Fair enough. Yeah.
My wife's healthy, she's fine, alhamdulillah. My daughter's here, she's fine, alhamdulillah. We're good. At the end of the day, there's other people that have been. They're definitely other people that have been through worse situations. Just think of how they would have got the same response from such people. Bear in mind, if someone's coming to you with a complaint, you've been put in that position to deal with complaints. That's not in terms of hierarchy. You're gonna be in a high position. Yeah, and then to get responses like that, it's just mad. But
are these people you're dealing with most of the time? Which was this Croydon or was this Surrey?
Should we say the name? I don't want to say the name.
Oh, you don't want to say?
Should I say the name?
Okay,
East Surrey.
Okay, so were you dealing with people that look like you or people that?
No, they're all white people, but not that.
That's not a surprise.
Not that. Listen, I don't want to bad mouth white people per se.
It's not bad mouth.
They were all white people, innit? There was like one black person there, and she just.
The reason I say this is because with one thing I think black people tend to have in healthcare, what we maybe sometimes too much of, is the empathy to the point where it's things like that type of center you won't get that from. And
what do you mean?
There was one black person
when it comes to so like when you hear like, or from what like Mrs. always tells me, when it comes to like childbirth type stories type thing, or labor or midwives, basically that whole that whole sector of healthcare, black people often won't get that type of experience from black people. They'll never get that type of thing.
Yeah.
But what they may sometimes get is assumptions, judgment. For example, a young person having a baby and their auntie is her midwife, for example, that type of thing. And so you get those type of problems, but you wouldn't get that. And
the way, not only you get judgment from them people as well.
No, you get judgment, but as
the
in
amount of times
different.
that the reactions, the amount of times I was like, no, I am her husband. Are you the boyfriend? Or are you the father? No, yeah, I'm the husband. Husband? Yeah, I'm the husband.
Do you know? I wouldn't. That probably come. That will come from everyone because of the fact that when it comes to like nobody. It's mad that in society that like, as a young black boy or young black man or whatever is never going to be assumed to be the husband of a young black woman having a child at a young age. It will always be assumed that your baby daddy or etc. Which is sad.
I like that to be.
Which is sad. No, but the thing is, what's sad, but it's
no, but
at the same time. But if you
surprise people,
you should never assume.
I didn't know.
You should never ever.
But people do.
I'm not saying they should, but I'm saying that's what's gonna happen.
That's a ridiculous question to ask. Are you the boyfriend? That's an absolutely ridiculous question to ask because all you have to, because I do it every day. All you have to do is ask, how are you related?
Forget that. All you have to do is look at the paperwork.
That's all you have to do. All you have to do is ask, how are you related? And you get your answer.
It's negligence.
And instead of assuming and possibly offending someone.
Yeah, but
that's absolutely ridiculous.
Because they don't care. And because in their head, it's like they're just confirming their perception that they have in their mind already.
It's dumb, man. It's ridiculous.
We could literally make 3 or 4 podcasts based off just all the nonsense I face, but I just want to wrap it up, man, because I haven't got time for this.
I mean, my last point is that, like, if you're when you do things like that, you're just feeding into that the same narrative that you're complaining of. You'll say that all these people having kids out of wedlock, or all these guys that are getting girls pregnant and not tying them down or not getting married and blah blah blah, broken homes, blah blah blah. When you're doing that, you're just feeding into the narrative because you're just doing self-fulfilling prophecy, or you're forcing people into that role. So anyway, man.
And then for people that were like, because I had a couple people asking me when we put what episode was it? What is it? Because I'm black.
The Zoom one,
the one where we talked about my situation with moving.
Yeah.
So I think now it kind of makes sense to people that. Because there was a couple of people I was just like, wait. And then when I had my baby, I replied to them and I said, I aired it. And then I was like, okay, so you see that time you were talking nonsense about me overreacting, about moving, even though it wasn't really overreacting. Now it should kind of make sense. The fact that they knew that my wife is pregnant and yet they still treated me this way. Because there were other people... how can you prioritize somebody who is single, working professional for a 2-3 bedroom house over somebody who's let alone the race and everything?
We didn't even know that at the time as well.
But that's why I was so irate about that. Maybe if it didn't make sense now it does.
Regardless.
Even without that,
some people don't think that way. Some people don't think like you guys. Some people just see, okay, you couldn't get a house because you're black. What? Find another solution. That's just how some people think. But I guess now it's
jarring, man. It's jarring. It's annoying. I don't know.
Really?
I mean, even at the end,
nice happy return to the podcast.
Even at the end, on the final point, even at the end, when it could get way worse. But I'm not discussing it. Even at the end, when remember I was talking to you, I was so irate about getting a baby, and you were like, it's just because they're young, certain type of people. They're young white people, innit? That's what you said.
Did I?
Okay, cut that out.
Where's my lawyer?
But anyway, is when
cut the tapes,
when my daughter came and they finally pumped her oxygen and she was less pale and whatever, and I was like, give it to me, like she's my baby, and they're like, nah, like she needs some skin to skin time with her mother. I was like, she's had skin to skin time with her mother. I've taken her baby, and then I've given her baby back to her, and then I've taken her baby again. You've taken her off me and then given her back to the mother. It seems like every time that my daughter's in my arms, you take her off me and then give her back to the mother. Like, what's going on? Do I not matter? Like, I get it, skin to skin time, but she's been with her mother I haven't touched my baby for about.
Yeah.
And I'm even like I wasn't here for the past 6 hours with her free labor while you, man, were just doing nonsense. But I'll leave it there.
Obviously, dad's lives don't matter, innit?
No,
red pill man, the red pill gang.
No, because I can see if you live in a world where men are, I keep saying this, where men are a bonus or they don't matter, or to have them around is kind of is a convenience, then of course a man being there is an optional extra. You just tick that box. Doesn't really matter. So I can see where it comes from their perspective, but it's nonsense, really. It's nonsense. But anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
Palestine and that.
Wait.
But yeah, alhamdulillah, having a daughter is great.
Alhamdulillah.
Biggest blessing of my life, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
If you got,
I feel like just before we move on to anything else, I feel like we forgot to mention. Just in general, Jazakallah khairan, thank you guys for the kind of love and feedback we got for the last episode.
Oh yeah, man.
The new listeners.
It went out. It made a big splash, we'll say, and
the biggest splash.
Biggest splash we've had.
No skid marks.
Alhamdulillah, I'm glad that people, and especially new listeners, found something that they enjoyed and they took benefit from it as well. It was probably our best episode. So thank you guys, and we hope we can keep you entertained. Not that we're about the numbers or anything, but it's nice to look at.
Yeah, of course.
It is nice
and
to look at.
Keep let's keep the momentum going.
Keep the interactions coming in.
That type of episode, that type of content, when we similar kind of feedback, obviously not to as big an extent, but it was earlier on when we had Uncle Tawfiq on. That type of content, obviously that's what we like giving, and it's gonna be those people, they're not strangers to us, alhamdulillah, and there'll be regular kind of appearances along with other people, people of knowledge, and other friends that we have, people that can bring in different perspectives, different knowledge, different benefits that they can give. That's gonna be a regular thing, inshallah. So stick with us. Obviously, keep sharing. The more we get, the more easier it is for us to give something bigger out. Yeah. So obviously, keep sharing, keep liking, keep subscribing, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, man. Obviously, it's just beginning. Let's keep the momentum going.
Click the notification bell.
Yeah, obviously, no, on the level though, like click the bell, like it, because like at the end of the day, as of now, alhamdulillah, in certain ways, we've got a quite what's the word? The community is not a massive community, innit? So there's no reason that we shouldn't, especially you that are at the beginning of our journey, you lot are the kind of the founding fathers kind of this podcast. So there's no reason that all of you shouldn't be close to us in the way that you can give us feedback, you can ask us questions, you can ask us to discuss certain things. There's no reason why it shouldn't be a close thing, because at the moment, there's not millions of you, so it's easy for that. Inshallah, in a couple years, 3 years, when there's millions of you, I might not see your DM in it, so you might as well get that in now, fam. You get me? Alhamdulillah, though. Yeah, man. But
Millions.
And also, Jazakallah to Ustaz Abdul Wahid as well for coming down, man.
And Rams.
Who? Who? Tell him to move. Yeah, man. So obviously, in the month that while we've been away, obviously we've had Ramadan, and there's been other things that have happened.
Yeah.
Most notably, the most recent events in Palestine.
Yeah.
Where our brothers and sisters are being being tormented by
treated like animals.
Treated like animals by the oppressors that are oppressing them, that are invading. That's what I would call it, invading or settling, in inverted commas, if you want to use that word, but invading their lands illegally, while the rest of the world essentially, or the powers of the world essentially, sit back and do nothing.
Or
it just makes you
fund them.
It just makes you. It just makes you think sometimes, because I was watching there's a viral video going around of the Zionist in the garden of a Muslim home, saying basically repossessing it. And it just makes you think. It just makes you think of how grateful we are. And because I was just thinking, if I was in that situation, like I've been waiting years for a situation like this to just punch someone up. Like,
how do you have the audacity?
You'll just pray. You're in my garden. You're on my land. Like, I'm just thinking, why this man not dead already? But at the end of the day, that just gets you to think, okay, this is the kind of situation they're in where you can't even do something to a man that's on your land. Because it must be dire. It must be. I feel like because if it was here and the man was doing that
straight after, right after what happened about Masjid al-Aqsa, there were these two men. They had actually removed this woman from her house, and were inside her house. Were saying that this is our land and you can't come back in here. Her house. They removed her and went inside.
There was another video of
it just gets you to think of how grateful we should be.
Yeah, there's another video. My wife was telling me that like a Jewish settler was talking to a Palestinian like after taking his property, and the person was literally saying that it's like, oh, I'm sorry, like I'm allowed to do this. I have the right to do this, and it's not really fair. I know it's not really fair. But I could move, but somebody else will just come and take it anyway. So there's no point you fighting. That's the vim that they can come with.
Yeah,
I don't know. This
was. That's what I'm saying. There's so many of them going around because these two, we've just spoken about 3 different videos. There's so many of them going around, them doing the exact same thing to different people.
It's mad. It's mad. And how about I put you in a headlock? It's just mad.
I think.
And then the next person that will come after you can be put in a headlock too. I think mad. For me, that's what it does to me. It just gets me to think. For the fact that you can't just punch man up there, it shows that you fear not the repercussions of you fear the repercussions of doing that. Because if you do that, what else can happen? Because surely, in an ideal world, if someone did that, you're finished.
To do so, yeah.
You're finished. One man on my turf saying he's gonna repossess my home. Is it a joke?
They are, as in there's literally
shows that the situation is bigger than it is.
Laws for other people, and in terms of like, I think the most important thing, I'm going to try and go into it a little bit because I'm by no means an expert on the situation.
Sorry, but, it reminds me, just to give an analogy for people that don't know what I'm talking about. It reminds me of them situations in school where you're like in year 11 or whatever, and you see the little year 7 hyping up to everyone else, and no one can punch him up. Because they know that if they punch him up, he'll get his bigger brothers or cousins or he's in a gang. It's kind of like that. But yeah, Karen, continue.
So yeah, I think the first thing, anyone who's listening, inshallah, there's videos on YouTube, but they may not be the most unbiased sources, but at least you could take from it what you will. I think the most important thing people should do before they go out, before they
protesting is not
before they put something on Instagram, before they go to
demonstrations
Westminster is to educate yourself on the situation and be somebody who's got knowledge on the situation. You're gonna get a bit from this podcast, but it's by no means gonna be extensive enough for you to really beat the situation. But just in terms of a bit of context, because I think it's important that that's kind of out there. I think so from a history perspective, if you don't know, that area, Israel, what's now Israel, Palestine, Jerusalem, that whole area, historically, has been an area that has been habited by the Arabs, obviously because in Arab land, a mixture between Jewish people, Christian people, and Muslim people. And generally, to my knowledge, the Muslims particularly and the Jews generally lived in that area quite peacefully over the years. And the only kind of major tension in that area, maybe like 500 years ago in the Crusader kind of times, was by the Christians killing both Muslims and the Jews.
Sorry, bro. Quickly, let me interrupt you because I don't know about this. I don't know about the history. I only know about the recent stuff, and that there was conflict there before. Yeah. I keep seeing the name Hamas being brought up as an excuse. I'll go into that a little bit. For what is okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll go into that a little bit.
Israeli military.
Palestine, they're Muslim. So fast forward, the last kind of Muslim. The last time that area was in the hands of Muslims was the Ottoman Empire, up until who owned like a large part of that area of the world, up until World War I, where they were defeated, and it became under British rule. And Britain, always their hands are always around this. So Britain essentially decided that this area to make it kind of to avoid, because what they didn't want was war. So to eventually to make their idea of a peaceful solution was essentially to divide the area up into a Muslim area and a Jewish area. And that area had been inhabited by mainly Muslims, but because of the fact that there's the Zionist movement, and for people that don't know, Zionism is basically the idea that Judaism is a religion, but as well as being a religion, it's a race, and that race needs its own land, like its own country. So like you have Saudi Arabia.
So basically, they're the extremists of Jews. Same way.
they're the
Khawarij of Jews, basically. Is that what you're saying?
The thing about them is the idea of we are a nation, we are a people, a race, and we need a country. As it is not really. I don't have a massive issue with that per se. The issue comes from how you obtain that land, blah blah blah.
Yeah, so, but isn't that the same as Khawarij and Muslims? Because as Muslims,
I get what you mean.
We believe in an Islamic state.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. But I get what you mean. But in terms of
an Islamic state,
an Islamic state,
you
got to emphasize that. You have to end. If you just go, we believe in Islamic state.
Did I not say? I'm sure.
I'm just saying, we're emphasizing it. I know you did.
You start searching IS propaganda, and episode 33 pops up of Jollof after Jollof. But anyway, yeah. So like, yeah, that area. So Britain decided to divide that area up and say this is going to be the Muslim area and this is going to be the Jewish area. Yeah. And alongside that, because of that rise in Zionism, that belief, and just sorry to touch on your question, Zionism, I think I can imagine there being a Jewish person who's maybe moderate and a Jewish person who's maybe an extreme, like far right Jewish person, both believing in Zionism. I don't think it necessarily has to be an extremist of the Jews, even though it's probably more likely to be because of what it comes with. Okay. But yeah.
They don't teach you this. They don't teach you this stuff in RE.
That's just from me. That's just from me, by the way. That's not a fact. That's my understanding.
They teach you about two daddies and two mummies.
Anyway. Yeah. So the rise of Jewish people. So that area at that time, end of World War I, was a Muslim area, as in there's mainly Muslims that lived there. But Jewish people started to migrate when Zionism grew. The Jewish people decided, like from say the Jewish people in America, in Scotland, in Iceland, as they become Zionists, they said, okay, let's all go back to Israel. So like let's do hijrah to Israel, because it's like if we believe in our own state, the most sensible place for that to be is going to be where Abraham kind of originated from, which is going to be Israel. So they all went back to there. So and the Muslims weren't necessarily, to my knowledge, it's not a thing that they were fighting, because it was an accepted kind of Muslim, obviously Ottoman area. Yeah. And we're like, okay, the Jewish people want to migrate here, that's fine, it's under our rule, cool. But as they grew, their influence grew, and the sympathetic English people decided, okay, so the way we're going to divide this land,
they now started claiming lands based from prophetic times back to the times of like Musa and Ibrahim, and saying that they're saying that these lands belong to us. And
at that point, they didn't have the backing to make that claim. Yeah. So fast forward, that claim that was done, fine. That division was made, but it wasn't really a thing. It was still kind of like, it wasn't. Those lines weren't.
So basically, now their boys came to back
until what end of World War II happened. Obviously, the Holocaust happened. Okay. And the difference between end of World War I and the difference between and end of World War II is now the world, the England, Russia, America, now they feel that they owe the Jewish people something because of the Holocaust. So what they decided to do is they've said this land where that had up until in recent times been accepted as an area that the Muslims hold, the Muslims own, and they live in peace with the Jewish people or whatever. How this land belongs now to the Jewish people, and we're dividing this land, and the area like Jerusalem, that place is not going to be part of any country. We're just going to divide it. So imagine like the whole country is Muslim, some Jewish people move in, allowed to move in, and because the people that were ruling that area, not the area, but the Turkish people ruling that area have fallen, that country that you had, we're gonna say you own now half of your country.
Divvy it up and say, yeah, that's yours now, and that's yours.
So
country.
that's half your country. So and then when the Arab countries obviously defend the Muslims weren't happy with that because why would you be happy with that when your country, your people, the Muslims' land is literally being given to these Europeans, essentially European Jewish people, to say sorry, as in it wasn't Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Palestine, the people in Palestinians, the people of Gaza, they're not the ones who put the Jewish people in the gas chambers. It was Hitler. It wasn't them that did it, but their recompense is going to be that you're giving them our land.
Yeah.
That they're the one, the people who are not involved in World War II, are the ones who are going to.
Can't go to Germany and do this.
Why don't you give them East Germany? Innit? But anyway, and not only obviously that with this apology and here's this land in Israel, what we're also going to do is give you guns, give you everything to enable to. We're giving you like a country starter pack. We're giving you a country and everything you need
to go and do more basically and take more.
And obviously, so when
to the point where they've swallowed Palestine, that Palestine doesn't exist.
And it gets
who are Hamas?
So I'll get to that. Don't worry, I'll get to that. It's coming.
It wasn't Israeli military. It's Palestinian military.
It's coming.
But yeah.
So and that was
they're using the word Hamas to.
Don't worry, it's coming.
It's
I don't.
like
I don't get it. If you're saying you're shooting rockets at people, let's take this.
He's gonna get to that. But
let me get it. 'Cause I want to give the full timeline for the sake of
shooting of the
people
media outlets and all this stuff.
So that's 1945. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So it's gone off your phone. I don't know what's there now.
What's that?
Let me carry on. So obviously the Arab countries surrounding Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia fought to fight against this agreement, giving away half of Israel or Palestine or whatever to Israel to the Jewish people, and they lost that war. And in losing that war, they lost even more of their territory. So when England originally made that map and they drew it, that even got even smaller. So that was the first step. So as a punishment for trying to defend your own land, you've lost more land because they lost that war.
You lost the war?
The Arabs, but as in that was poor Arab Bedouin type countries fighting against Israel, but Israel is really America and England because they've got all of their weapons, they've got all of their cool. 20 years later, there's a bit of another uprising, and you get this Palestinian Liberation order, I think PLO, formed, and basically every time they rise against it, they lose more land essentially because they lose the wars in it, and it's called the 6-Day War. You can look that up. It's called the 6-Day War, where they lost even more land. Fast forward, that Palestinian Liberation Order lose a bit of favor because obviously they're a bit more okay. Let's just go back to that original agreement and we'll accept that Israel is a state and we'll let you have half the country, but you're taking the mick. Give us our land. That became more unpopular with the oppressed Palestinian people, naturally, because they're being oppressed. And there you have the formation of the group Hamas, which are basically a more extreme version of the Palestinian Liberation Order. So instead of being, Israel can exist, fine, but you can't have the whole country, give us half the country, like the original British agreement, even though we used to own the whole country. Hamas have said, no, Israel's not a country.
Don't want you here.
Blah, blah, blah. The issue with
Hamas is basically Palestine's Zionists. So they're basically
they're the opposite. They're the very polar opposite of Zionism. Yeah, they are. But the only thing about Hamas is Hamas are reported to use those typical type of tactics like suicide bombing, assassination, even though Israel very much do the same
they are
thing.
basically Khawarij.
One thing I'm not sure is I don't know where the kind of the ulama, the people of knowledge, side into the best way to resolve this situation.
Yourself up and
So that's never and the thing about
it's an innovation.
The thing about the Hamas is that they are not in a position, and is Islamic. It's a principle of fiqh that you don't start a war or you send people out to war that they're going to lose.
Listen,
so they can't win.
Forget that. Yeah. In such situations, even in a war, like buildings are not meant to be destroyed. Trees.
Yeah, of course.
women, children, they're not meant to be harmed. That's not even in this. That's not
so,
even
so,
in this.
So Hamas are the in terms of the government so Hamas were elected in an election in Gaza. So
they're official organization.
Yeah, they're official.
Yes.
They're a political party.
Yeah. Right. So it's not even like it's ISIS.
So even within the Muslim territory, I don't know if this is still the case now, but you had an area called the West Bank, which is basically the Muslim area is the Gaza Strip. Then there's Jewish land. Then there's an area near Jordan that's also Muslim area. So Palestine is almost like divided. And one of that Palestine, as of the last time I looked this up, it was like 5 years ago, there was like Gaza is Hamas. That's where the staunch Muslims are, and those are the ones that are getting bombed the most. Then you have the West Bank near Jordan, which is also Muslim, but that's kind of like the PLO type of territory where they're a bit more the Jews and the Palestinian Liberation Order. So basically Muslims that they're not actively fighting the Jews as much. So they live in a bit more harmony. It's still bad, they live in a bit more harmony. But essentially every time Hamas does anything to what they would call liberate the Muslim people, the response is Israel's response.
So they're cowards, basically.
Unproportional.
It's disproportional, and the other thing about it is it's disproportional. Normally, it's triggered by things like what we're seeing in all these videos, that Jewish people just walking in and taking people's land. And then, so it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where essentially, if the Muslim people don't say anything, they just, then slowly what you're going to have is, it's literally a slow invasion that slowly, eventually they'll be wiped out. And if they do something like they bomb back or they fight back, then somebody goes on BBC News, they start screaming, Hamas are terrorists, Hamas are terrorists, Hamas are terrorists. We need to deal with Hamas. So because of, we need to deal with Hamas, we're going to bomb the whole of Gaza. Yeah. So that's the situation, and that's where we are essentially today. I've missed obviously a lot of bits. Go and look at it properly if you can, but that's where we are today. And why what's sad about that is the fact that it's literally, there are people who they try to negotiate, and what happened when they try to negotiate, they get nowhere. Because at the end of the day, if they try to negotiate, the reason it fails most of the time is because as soon as it's like what you'll start saying is, Bill Clinton or Barack Obama will start saying, oh yeah, but obviously when this Masjid al-Aqsa, for example, you obviously are going to let the Jews go there and have their own temple. That's the kind of thing so it's basically, whenever they try to negotiate, because they're in a position of weakness, they are going to try to rub them out essentially. So they're going to try and dilute it. So it's going to be you Muslim people. Remember 100 years ago, this was a Muslim area who allowed Jewish people from Europe to come and live in their country before being told that these these migrants. Imagine that we said we're setting up Nigeria in England. And then who's powerful? Russia gave us guns and to kill any English people. And then slowly, now we're in London, we moved, now we're in Crawley, then we've moved, and now we're in Ipswich. And then we go to Manchester, and this is ours now. That's essentially what's happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
And while the world does nothing, and it's all because of this fake narrative that the Jewish people are owed something. Yeah. The Jewish people might be owed something, but it's not by the Arabs. It's not Arabs. It's not the Arabs, or it's not the Muslims that owe them anything.
Yeah, it's not the Muslims' responsibility to pay for the wrongdoing of other countries.
And every single thing that these people went through or these people did, they're doing. This is basically a slow Holocaust of what they're doing to the Muslim people. Yeah. But nobody's gonna cry.
There is a Holocaust. It's extremely ironic. There's a Holocaust going on at the moment, but in China. And Muslims, but nobody, the world will not know. The world,
even the media, they it's one sided. Yeah. Obviously, we just spoke about China and how there's nothing on that. What's going on? You don't know.
Yeah.
Then there's also even this Israel conflict. Like, if you just look on YouTube, because I live in a cave, I don't watch the news. I get my news from the YouTube feeds. Yeah. All you see is Israel's being rockets being sent to Israel. Rockets being.
They're trying to make it look like a war, like an equal-sided war.
Not even equal side. They're trying to make it like Israel's the victims. Which is very mad. It's very, very mad. Yeah. If this is about weapons and conflict, why are you shooting down media towers so that they can't report what's happening?
And secondly, and every single, the thing about Israel,
1+1=6.
Israel could not exist without the power, without the backing and funding of America and England, who are still giving them reparations. They didn't give their slave black people reparations, but they're giving Israeli people that didn't even live in their country that were in Germany, they're giving them reparations. That is literally what enables that country to survive. The biggest supplier to weapons, England's biggest export in weapon export is Israel. People that they sell, that they make money from selling weapons to, I believe is actually Israel. So, but we're deeply disappointed by the conflict. How do you make your money? How do you make your money? How do you? You're literally giving them the guns to do the stuff, and then you're gonna say we're deeply disappointed. If the war stops, then your sale stops.
Finished, yeah.
So are you really deeply disappointed?
I think
if you look at it in like the most simplest, like if you don't know anything about war, or like if you look at the size of Gaza, and then you look at the size of Israel, and that's the place you're bombing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is actually,
especially for when it's a death match, especially when Gaza's like compared to Israel's like a third world country in regards to defenses. I was seeing a video, and the rockets that are coming from Hamas or Gaza allegedly, they're literally coming in, and they've got what's called, because I'm into engineering and just stuff that is sick, and they've got like what is called an Iron Dome, and the rockets are none are coming in. Like barely are coming in. It's like a rockets. It's like fireworks. They're just exploding because of what they call the Iron Dome. Like not many are coming in. Whereas obviously they shoot a rocket, it's causing destruction to Gaza if they shoot a rocket, and that's just the defenses, let alone offense and everything else. Like Israel are a superpower compared to Gaza.
They're one of the biggest economies. Look, at the end of the day, in any other walk of life, like where like if I imagine like I go to school, like and imagine I'm in a year 11, and then a reception kicks me, like someone from year 1 kicks me in the shin. Am I allowed to punch him in the head?
Did I not just say this? I just said this.
And like when you walk, when you walk like the map that was just showed us, like literally, like what you see. Regardless of, at the end of the day, as soon as that 6-day war, probably the one where Israel fought Syria, Egypt, the Arab countries essentially, or I think it was just Egypt, I can't remember, but Egypt and Palestine. Yeah. Since then, they are not a credible threat to you, but yet you claim that you want your state. You've got your state now. You didn't claim, they never claimed that they wanted the end of Muslims in Jerusalem, these type of areas. All you claim is that you wanted your country. But yet you insist on cleansing Muslims from this whole place. Yeah. If in that apartheid, genocide, that all of these crimes, these things that they'll claim that this is what happened to them, which is why we should feel sorry for them. Why we're not allowed to say anything about Jew. You have to tiptoe around the word Jew because of that big crime that happened to them. Is the same thing that their state that they've now been gifted by, that they didn't, they were gifted. It's the same thing that they're doing to other people.
Which is why I say this is incredibly ironic.
It's not an issue.
It is, and then when terrorists are born from the trauma that you're inflicting on people, you'll complain about that as well.
Exactly.
And say
they made people like Hamas. They made it. They created it.
I was gonna get onto this.
Your own enemies, yeah.
But this is what I'm gonna say now. In regards to now, let's focus back on the UK. Us, we're not living in Palestine.
Of course.
Us guys, and how we can support. I was gonna say Hamas, not Hamas. How we can support the Palestinians.
Anyway, speak.
Right. People are going outside and protesting. First thing I'm gonna say is protesting permissible as Muslims? We're saying that we're supporting our folk. We're supporting our Muslims that are being persecuted.
I believe we've covered this.
How did this?
Yeah, we covered this. Go watch episode 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uncle Tafik. Yeah.
But how like we've just spoken about Hamas. How do you think people like? How do you think these people? How do you think this organization were born? It all starts off from free mixing in protests and chanting and doing all this stuff and rebelling the leaders, which is kufr, by the way. And then it turns to building a movement, building this, doing that, getting bigger, becoming an organization, further rebelling against the leaders. Then you have an organization like Hamas saying that they're fighting on behalf of Muslims and they're extremists and whatnot. Bear in mind, they're all probably they're killing Muslims and no doubt they're gonna be killing Muslims and all this stuff within what they're doing.
The Hamas people.
Yeah. Are their actions not gonna be
indirectly causing the deaths of Muslims?
Not indirectly, directly. Yeah. They're fighting. If they were to come across Muslims in certain situations, it's like ISIS.
Okay. Hamas and the PLO had a war, which is this.
Are they not both Muslims?
Yeah, and yeah. So I guess yeah.
And then you have, and what has that turned to now? Like, if you look at ISIS, all of these innovators, all of these people, Ahlul Bid'ah, if we look at the result of what's happening, them rebelling the leaders, what has happened to those countries?
What have you gained?
Yeah.
Libya, and what has happened to the occupants, the Muslims that were living there? They're saying now that our Muslims are being persecuted. If we think about it, we deep it. Not to say that it wouldn't have happened, but would this be happening if the birth of Hamas and all of this stuff went there? Because they're now using this as an excuse. They're saying this is reactionary to Hamas.
Yeah. Which is the biggest issue.
So now we're gonna say that we're gonna now make not only that, which is disgusting. We're now gonna make it a trend to it's awful. Yeah, I'm in a protest. Yeah, Gaza flag, blah blah blah.
And I think someone can and even though everything you said is a fact, we can't argue with it. Someone can easily sit here and say you're not suffering with them, so you're sitting from a position of privilege to say that. But I think the point that
go and join them.
No, it's not even that. I think the crux
go
of
and fight them.
And the point we're just trying to make is that
this is not coming from me.
Exactly.
This is if you have a problem with it, then you've fallen into kufr.
That's it. It's not coming from him. This is what the Quran and the Sunnah says, that even if
we all know
we're being oppressed, that we shouldn't rebel against oppressors. We shouldn't rebel against our leaders.
If it's too much for you, make hijrah.
We need to have trust in Allah to liberate us from those.
We're not talking about people in Palestine, by the way. We're talking about people in this country.
No, I know.
I'm making that clear.
Be honest. Let's be real. What is your protesting gonna do? You've got the leaders of this country who we have said are sending arms and whatnot to the other countries, yet saying to the people, "Oh, we are so sorry. This cannot be happening." What is it gonna do? But anyway, forget that.
In terms of actual change. So like,
that's actually a good point, to be honest.
Yeah, what people.
And hold on, sorry, I'm sorry to cut off, but I feel like that's genuinely a good point, and I think people don't think about enough that your protest isn't actually going to do much, and I'm not saying that maybe you're a bad person for going out to protest, but at the same time,
it can be a bit virtuous.
What do you really think any change is going to happen from your protest? And it's slyly, I kind of feel, a way of fulfilling your own personal desire sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a way of fulfilling your own personal desires rather than...
You sit down, you watch the videos, you feel bad.
Yeah.
You feel like, I'm helpless.
Yeah.
I need to do something.
So you stand up
and someone says, the way what we're doing is going to Westminster to stand and chant.
Let's be real though, a lot of these men sometimes are only doing it because it's a trend.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Or because you feel like...
Maybe not all of them,
yeah,
but majority of them.
So in terms of actual ways or better ways...
I've listened to podcasts where men have gone to certain protests to move to girls. In the past.
Yeah. So, like, let's move to actual ways that you can actually help, first thing, and this is something that someone always says at my workplace, that the person that normally gives that the khutbah and Jummah and stuff is, and he's been there, is that actually go in there, which you can do. So go into Masjid al-Aqsa, visiting at times, obviously when you can.
Where, sorry?
Go into visit Masjid al-Aqsa, go into visit Palestine.
Oh, I thought you meant
go in there, obviously in times when it's safer, and go in there, spend your money there, speak to the people. Visit them, and because what that does is, and this is what he said to us, is that it's good for, in terms of your deen, visiting the second most holy mosque, visiting the site of Al Miraj, is that it will uplift the people. It will show them that they've got support internationally. It will keep their spirits high. It will mean that it will keep them making dua. It will financially benefit the Palestinian region, which is financially on its knees. All that type of stuff will do a lot more than protesting. And if you can give the people the spirit, the power to try and help their own situation, however that is, or it can raise the profile of that area. Imagine an area that is, if there's an area that everybody's going to, for example, imagine if everybody was going to a certain area and it became apparent that that area and the people of those area are mistreated and more light is shined on those people internationally, then it will increase the motivation for other countries or whatever to assist those people because it looks bad. If the people of America, of England, of France, of Spain, of Algeria are all saying what's going on with these people, the leaders of those countries are going to be more inclined to have to do something to try and help that country. Right into your MP or whatever, your local person, to lobby for them to actually do something, to put pressure, real pressure in the government, signing petitions, all that type of stuff is going to be, because that type of stuff, when it comes to at least in these countries, they've created a system where there are processes that you can go about to have things maybe discussed in parliament, blah blah blah, where motions can be brought out in parliaments directly to the leaders, that type of thing. That is going to cause a lot more than people protest on the street. Someone hits a police officer, then suddenly all of you people in that protest are exed as yobs and asbos who are just coming to cause trouble. And then there you go, movement done.
Even from a practical point of view, in regards to why protesting is impermissible. If you think about protests, even a peaceful one, even in the best case scenario, where people are protesting, they're not making noise, whatever, they're still blocking traffic. They're still causing disruption in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, you get to the ones that are looting, the ones that are damaging people's cars, the ones that are causing people harm, the ones that are causing so many. Let me leave it there.
Yeah, it's not the best way. It's not. It just isn't. So there are better ways. Use the avenues that are available to us, that are available to us, and exhaust those as much as you can. And like I said, the best thing you can do is
study.
Use your money and go there and educate yourself.
Yeah, educate yourself. Don't take it from us.
Because if all the people, all the people that really were passionate about this situation were in all of the most senior positions in this country, and then suddenly you would find that this country suddenly has to do something about it because all the people at the top care about it. So you need to, so educate yourself, give to the charities where you can. Those are the things that are going to make the biggest difference. Because
keep them in your doors as well.
Keep them in the doors. That's
keep them in your doors.
Sorry if I didn't mention that. That's one of the most important things that we can do.
That reminds me, I was going to talk about. It's a segue from that. I was going to talk in regards to policing and all this stuff. I was actually going to say, who do we have to thank for that? Who invented that kind of system and the governing system for you to even as a civilian to complain about if you're being treated unfairly by police or whatnot? It was Umar radiallahu anhu. He was the first. He was the first to implement that system, to create that system. That's what we have to thank for that. In fact, we could go into. In fact, if we're to jump back to previous episodes where we were going to talk about what is a man, Umar radiallahu anhu, that's my hero, bro.
Of course,
Of course. You know what? I was listening to. I think it was Ahmed. Me and Ahmed were in the car and he played a podcast, and because I don't usually listen, he played it in an episode where we answered the questions and we each answered our favorite companion, and I think I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't there, but you asked me what my You asked me why Umar radiallahu anhu was my favorite companion, and I wasn't listening. I just replied. I'd reply with something stupid. I think I went or something like that. Yeah, because I wasn't listening.
Yeah, you did.
I was pissed off. I was like, why didn't I answer? Because that is the perfect. If we're to talk about what a man should be, which is what we have discussed in the pod, but we didn't finish. That is almost perfect. Not almost. That is like aside from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, those two, like they're the perfect They're the that's what the perfect man
example.
is. That's what a man should be. Not posting your not having Rida being a dayif, and posting your wife all over social media. Not having the Rida, not being a coward. Like there's so much we could go into. Should we go into it, or should we just leave it there? Or we're gonna talk about polygamy.
Time is of the essence.
And Abu, the guy.
Leave that.
By the way,
not today.
We'll
not
leave
today.
that one not today.
Yeah, we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
What was your by the way? What was your by the way? Quickly. What was your by the way? You just said by the way.
I can't remember.
Don't worry.
Alright.
I'm on my phone. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to our first episode back after our hiatus. If you're new here, subscribe. If you watch all of our videos but haven't subscribed, because I know people do it, I do it. Subscribe.
It's a different type of sicko, you know. that's evil, you know.
No, you know what? Yeah, I don't know.
I just naturally subscribe. If I like a video,
it's weird. It's weird. It will take me a while.
Such an op.
Like I couldn't.
I like that's op activity.
It is, but I don't know why I do it. I don't know. It's weird, man. It's weird. You don't do that as well. Yeah, everyone does it, man.
That's what I was gonna say.
You just watch their videos, but you just never subscribe.
I remember I was gonna say. What I was gonna say quickly was, not for people to make it a habit to send us stuff to react to. Because sorry. That's not what we do. Sorry, man. That's not. So obviously we're gonna talk about a brother who talks about polygamy.
We're going to talk about it because
I said we were going to.
Were we? I was never interested in doing that.
I thought you were gonna. Okay. Anyways, it was brought to us anyway for us to kind of
not directly because
she asked for.
It was direct.
My thing is I don't like to draw attention to the
wrongdoings
of anyone.
Yeah.
However,
don't mention the person.
No, I was never going to mention.
Yeah.
No, just to respond to that person who asked us to, or I don't know if people who asked us to do that specific thing. It's something that will come across, but if you wanted a specific. This person said this, and this is a response to it.
This is nothing against.
I'm just talking that if you wanted this person did this, and this is a response to it. That's not gonna happen. But what you will get, inshallah, is our opinion on.
Because to be fair to the sister,
because it's something
that's what she asked.
Yeah.
If it was an intention for us to discuss the specific brother on the podcast, then I would urge that people don't send us things to react to. But if she just wanted our opinion, which.
Yeah. If there's something, for example, that lends itself to a particular topic, and you want to use this as like a prompt, for example, this person, I don't prefer that because it's not good to share the negatives. But if you want us to talk about something, and there's something that has driven you to want us to talk about something, then fair enough, that's fine. I don't really have a problem with that. But
don't send us people to look at as a subject.
In terms
for
of
us to react
Jimmy
to.
Smith did this, can Judge talk about Jimmy Smith? No, that's not gonna happen. But however, if Jimmy Smith spoke about this, and you want us to also touch on what the topics that Jimmy Smith touched on, then that's not a problem. Inshallah. I just also want to say, are we done? Yeah. Obviously, may Allah protect and uphold and uplift the people of Palestine, all our brothers and sisters in those areas, and may Allah free them from the kind of the persecution that they're facing.
Destroy
and
modern day
Allah,
oppressors.
Yes.
Destroy.
Yes, literally, may Allah, destroy all the enemies. All the enemies of Islam, especially those who
cause carnage.
Who wish to do
us body parts.
Us harm. Yeah, man.
Stuff.
Alhamdulillah.
Sorry, I should.
Yeah, man. Obviously,
you were making dua.
Yeah, obviously.
That was awful timing.
Yeah, awful timing.
It was a memory. That's stuff.
Yeah, man. Obviously, inshallah, next we're gonna pick it up in terms of the mood, but when serious things happen, we can't. We have to address them. It can't be laughs and smiles all the time. But obviously, people understand that.
That's the general mood and the vibe.
Yeah, it was a bit of a.
I thought you meant we're going. I thought you said next time we're going to address the mood.
Our first episode back.
Yeah.
But
Eid Mubarak.
It is.
Sorry, before you wrap up, doing a dollar.
Yeah, you're doing a dollar.
Okay.
Do you ever get people commenting or asking us to kind of explore other perspectives? So like maybe to get people from other religion, just in general, just other religions or females on the podcast.
No.
You don't ever get that.
No.
Even
if we did, it's not happening.
I know. I'm just asking. Do you get it at all?
No,
people?
I don't.
Do you?
Other religions?
Not other. Just.
No.
Do you ever? Not. I just use that as an example. But do you ever get people asking us to give?
I get people. What I've got a lot of the time is not specifically other religions or other religions or sisters, but what I've got is people that I've got completely people from outside of this scope, this bubble that we're in. So outside. So for example, it could be Muslims. It could be Muslims, but it could be someone, for example, that's not from London, not from our community, or some not from our community. Somebody, for example, that does something completely. Someone that basically can give a perspective or insight into something that we just can't relate to. Yeah. For example, you know how. For example, we had the person that was a poet, for example, reach out to us on the comments. Yes, yeah. That type of thing. Or even there was somebody was a poet, because I looked and I couldn't find any recent work. Brother, if you have recent work, obviously shout us again, but if you have any like recent work, because it seems like you've been quiet for a while now.
Someone who's a poet.
He's a poet and he commented.
Reached out to us basically.
Yeah.
What do you say?
It was giving us love, really.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's all been.
But then also like just, different. For example, different, and this is something that I don't mind, different, not necessarily black, for example. Because at the end of the day, we can only talk about what we know. And when we have a conversation, so see like when we spoke about the midwives, NHS type of thing,
yeah.
If you have somebody, say you had a midwife here, for example, we can talk about our experiences, but then the conversation ends at a certain point. Yeah, and you can't bounce off. Do you remember my best examples? Remember when we spoke about in our first?
That's not black though.
No. I mean, as in somebody that represents the NHS, for example. So, for example, remember we had our first episode, and we spoke about stereotypes. Yeah, Muslim stereotypes, Muslim people. Yeah. For in that podcast, what we didn't have, for example, if we had, for example, an Asian person, and that person probably the conversation could have gone somewhere where they spoke about the reasons for these stereotypes, why these stereotypes came about, but we can't talk about that because we don't know.
Yeah, exactly, and this is the reason I asked that question, because when I was talking to you on Friday before everybody else got here, I don't think there's a problem with that.
I don't think there's either.
There isn't, and a lot of people seem to think that there is, and
yes,
and that's just one thing. Remember, I was a little bit triggered by it, because it's like, this is our space and this is our opinion.
And that will never change.
And that does not mean that we're not open to other people's opinions, but you're just not going to hear it from this podcast. Because if you would like to hear those things, there are plenty of other podcasts out there.
Wait, sort of. So what are you saying?
So the point I'm making is, it doesn't mean just basically what the reason I was speaking to him about that was because I think someone had made a suggestion that we have a sister on here to give her sister's point of view, and I was like, that's not the space for this.
He said that.
It doesn't matter. I was like, that's not the space for this. That doesn't mean that we're not open to hearing about other people's opinions. It doesn't mean that we're closed-minded and it's only our opinion that matters. But it's just that you're not going to hear it
as a one-off or as a permanent.
I can't even remember, but that was all, and I was just like, you're not going to hear it from this podcast. This is our podcast. This is our opinion, and that's what you came here for. Don't come here and now start asking me for somebody else's opinion. If you would like to hear somebody else's opinion, there are enough podcasts out there where you can hear other people's opinions. But
which is why we
from
do
Jollof after Jummah, you're going to hear about the experience of young black Muslims.
Yeah,
that was it.
I agree with that.
That was it. Basically,
what I will say though, because I agree with that, but I agree with that with the caveat that sometimes it's beneficial for example, that we're the black Muslim male, for example. See, remember what I said about the first episode,
Muslims,
whatever. Yeah, sorry. Remember I said about the first episode when we spoke about black Muslim stereotypes, for example.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with having. Let's say we wanted to do that topic. Let's say we wanted to reload that topic, for example. If we had somebody who's an Asian Muslim to give us insight on where those came from.
Yeah.
For example, because that's broadening the conversation. And what you're getting is, and then what you're getting is the response of the black Muslim to the black Muslims in real time to, because
which you also don't see on other platforms.
Exactly. So to me,
okay.
As long as the sisters thing is different because that's a different.
Yeah, I mean,
to me that's crossing over a boundary, innit?
I hear what you're saying, yeah, and
because I think that,
you know, the same way you said you won't get like the perspectives on other podcasts of how we're all three of us are black, blah blah blah. It's also the same for because how many these exactly we just said you don't see other fully black Muslim podcasts where they're talking about their experiences. What you do see is black brothers on the by the way, there's nothing wrong with any of what we're talking about. What you do see is, for example, a black brother on non-black podcasts, because obviously, as we said, all these other podcasts, they're not like ours.
Yeah.
What would be just as different as us doing black, all of us here doing a podcast as black men is having a non-black guest, because the dynamic's different when it's
and
the black person's a guest on another.
Yeah, by all means, it's
huh?
Did you always think that?
I did.
You know when we had anyway.
By all means, I'm not saying I'm not open to having a conversation about different perspectives, but yeah, I feel like the kind of thing that triggered me about that a little bit was just that I don't want people basically trying to dilute our podcast and our experiences and our opinions. I don't want it to be diluted or filtered. I'm by all means open to more than open to having a conversation,
because then it's no different to other podcasts.
Do you know it is
exactly
like with me. I know, but I think experience and perspective often get fused as if they're the same thing, but they're very different. So experience is us talking about what we've been through and blah blah blah, but perspective is something. The perspective is what you're going to keep getting, because the experience is the experience will kind of, obviously as we go through more experiences will give you more. But for example, me talking about the time the Dollar talking about his experience in the NHS blah blah blah, that's done now. You can't really get anything more than that out of that. Whereas the perspective, for example, if what you get more, if somebody came with, like, I don't know, midwife called Julie was here, not that that's gonna happen, but she gave a comment on her perspective, what you then get is Abdullah will be given his perspective on that, and it's still us. So while the three of us are here, it's always gonna be our perspective and our show. What I don't have a problem with, and I think it can even be healthy sometimes, is sometimes there's more benefit in having and it's the same reason why somebody will play devil's advocate. It's the same thing. When you talk out the argument or the debate or the discussion, it is more insightful. So Dullah giving his experience is not as insightful as Dullah giving experience followed by a discussion about said experience. That's more, you'll gain more from that. Whereas, because, for example, so me giving that little bit of information about the drug and the drowsing, that gives people more of a perspective, and now they've learned something and they understand. Because if Dullah said, oh, they gave the drug too late, they don't know why. Or maybe Dullah's chatting rubbish, maybe he doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah. But then now that they have a bit more information, a bit of perspective on that, they actually learn that. Now they know that isn't, do you know what I mean? So I think there is benefit in it. The sisters thing is a different, there's more layers to that, which is why.
There's no layers, it's not happening.
No, I mean, as in there's more layers to why why. So yes, because they all say, yeah, exactly. Abdul Malik's basically agreeing. I'm not agreeing with it because for other reasons. Whereas, So anyway, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
For the type of
next week we're getting
the type of people that think
Khadija and Fatima are gonna cut. No, joking. They're not. Sorry. Yeah, man. Yeah.
We don't do them things.
Okay, should we leave it then?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Eid Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.